Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. We're a podcast about board games where we have opinions and conclusions formed on the basis of incomplete information. This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is brought to you by these great Saskatoon businesses: Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street, Dragon's Den Games on 8th Street, and Breakout Escape Rooms on Faithful Avenue. Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host, Norm.
And I'm the great one, Ryan.
And on this episode, we're going to talk some banter about some board games. We're going to hit you up with some news. And Ryan, what's the topic for this episode, please?
We've got kind of two simultaneous topics going on. Norm's the solo gamer, so he's going to be talking about his top 10 solo games. And I mainly play a lot of two-player games, so I'm going to be talking about my top 10 two-player games.
And no...
The old 1-2 punch.
Cardboard Conjecture is proudly sponsored by Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street in Saskatoon. They're the winner of the Joe Shuster Award for Best Comic Book Store in Canada, and they were also nominated in 2016 for the U.S. Eisner Spirit of Comics Retailer Award presented at Comic-Con. Amazing Stories' amazing collection of comic books, board games, puzzles, and collectibles can be found in their store or on their new online website. And we're back. This is Cardboard Conjecture. Let's get into some banter. You know what? I'm going to start because that will lead into some discussion for you to pile up on. So I got myself ready. Ryan and I are going to do. We're going to try and do some episodes for the Jabs, just another board game show, and some Marvel Champions, and we're going to do the Red Skull campaign, I believe.
Yep.
Okay. So I already said I'm going to do Hawkeye. I'm going to play Hawkeye because he's underrated. Everybody's like the Aquaman, right? So everyone's just, I got to give him some.
Hawkeye is not Aquaman.
So I got to give him some respect. So yeah, I started playing. Ran through the base game stuff, scenarios, and just started to learn how this character operates, and he's very cool. It's all about what I'm totally appreciating out of Marvel Champions, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that one. Hint, hint. Is how the character deck mechanisms are so thematically connected to the character. They've went above and beyond their homework to make a point to tie things in and not just mail it in. And as far as its design, it's like, bloop, here's another one, bloop, here's another deck, yeah. Right? Pretty much the same thing, just different color, right? I totally appreciate the depth that I'm starting to see in Hawkeye. But I'm still a Spider-Man guy.
Yeah, Hawkeye is really cool. I've only played him once, but I really thought they really nailed it with his arrows system and having to charge them up, having to pretty much pull them out of the quiver and load them up. And you have to load them up and then fire them. It's really cool mechanism.
Yeah, that was and also the having those couple cards to pay for arrow events, right? That whole synergy was just very clever. I appreciate it. Now I want to see how it works with another character. And what did you say that you're going to bring to the table with this campaign?
I'm bringing my tried and true.
Overpowered.
I'm going to bring the OP. Doctor Strange is coming to the table, so we got the team up of Doctor Strange and Hawkeye going to run through the Red Skull campaign, and that'll maybe hopefully lead us up to when the Mad Titan Shadow finally reaches Canada and North America here, because it's on mad delay to North America. It's readily available in Europe right now.
Well,
Mad
and not
Titan
saying
Shadow.
And not saying that we're really far behind in getting media and culture here. I mean, we just got Nirvana last week, so We're just a little bit behind.
Yeah, I don't know, this whole global shipping thing, it's just clusters everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting bad.
It might be a news thing, I don't know, but yeah, the idea of the shipping container costs going through the roof and people scrambling, not scrambling, but people pivoting on Kickstarter or pre-Kickstarter and sourcing local.
Yeah.
Which I'm hearing more and more through the podcasts I'm listening to of these choices being made. And honestly, if that's the case, and there's also some that are being very environmentally conscious on their, their cardboard selection. And if that's the case, I don't mind paying a little bit more to support, support local or continental.
Yeah. No, that's 100% it. And that's why we're going to probably see some of these increases because we are going to be, a lot of these companies are trying to produce now within the US. And but
cool.
It is what it is. It's the nature of the beast.
And I know the question everybody's asking is, how did we go from Hawkeye Marvel Champions to here? And to answer your question, we're two teachers and we go on you're a math teacher, tangents. We hit tangents all the time. Right?
Yep.
But we brought it back in.
Good old line connected to a circle.
Yeah. I can't wait to dig into some more of this regular. We're going to try and do some alternate Mondays when we don't record. We're going to do some Marvel Champions. So that's what I got to bring to the table right now. Is
awesome.
Hawkeye, and you and Rob started something new.
Yeah, I'm going to be starting up. Well, Rob and I Rob from the Meeple Dungeon and I have been doing Wednesday night streams on our YouTube channel. And for a while there, we were doing Ashes Reborn, which is a fantastic game. I reviewed it in our last episode. And we're going to take a small break from Ashes because there's some other card games that have been coming out that we want to explore. And one of them is the Flesh and Blood card game. And now Flesh and Blood is a new trading card game. It's a collectible game. So there's the chasing after the foils and the rares and the super rares and the majestics and the legendaries. They've got rarities up the wazoo in this game. But we picked up a couple of the Blitz decks, which are just kind of like their version of a pre-constructed deck. And it's a really, really neat back and forth game. Everything's going to get compared to Magic the Gathering, because that's like the big one.
Well, yeah.
Everybody wants to be like Magic.
The comparable.
And except for in this one, you're not really summoning spirits to go battle on your behalf or something like that. You are actually two characters dueling it out. And when you take your action points, they are just like, actually like, I'm fighting with you with my sword or my katana or my axe. And then I might have like some alternate moves that I can attack you with, type of thing. And really, really quite neat. It's got the multi-use card system where every card has its ability, but it's also could be used as resources to pay for your other cards. I think that's kind of a neat aspect to it as well. And then your character, you also have cards set aside. That's your equipment. So you've equipped your character at the beginning of a game, and your equipment has one-time game effects on them. So you kind of have to time when you're actually going to trigger those abilities to the best that they can offer you. Very neat game. We were playing what's called the Blitz format. So a small deck of 40 cards. I think it was 40. And only 20 health on your character. And it's just back and forth. There's the bigger brother version called the constructed format, which is 40 health and a 60 card deck.
Whoa.
And so it's a much bigger deck, much larger. I heard it's a very much more strategic version, because you have to really pay attention to in this game when it's not your active turn and you're the defending player. You can defend the attacks with the cards from your hand, but if I do that, then I'm left with less cards to play on my offensive turn.
Yeah.
So it's a very big push and pull type of thing. When do I want to defend? When do I not defend? When do I eat the damage? And so kind of like when I decide I'm going to eat damage, means I probably got a plan to hopefully deal more damage back to my opponent.
There has to be a good reason why you're going to soak that up, because you're timing it to do a even bigger swing.
And it's a really interesting game. It's got a very interesting story behind it, because they're trying to fill the void that Magic the Gathering is starting to leave behind in these post-pandemic times.
The production company,
Yeah, Magic the Gathering is starting to pour lots of resources into their online arena, Magic the Gathering Arena app and computer version, and less about their physical play. And that's actually why Legends Stories Studios, I believe that's their name of the company, decided to call it Flesh and Blood, because they want the game to be played in flesh and blood. And they just had a big, massive event in Las Vegas. They had over 1,500 players attend this massive event with a $10,000 prize pool that was available and side events. And from what I've heard, it was a very successful event. It's gaining lots of traction. Their 5th set is about to release, I think, at the end of this week from this recording. I think it's September 24th. It's huge. It's huge right now. I think it's got a lot of good things going for it. I think it could compete with the big three. The big three being Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon. Mm-hmm. I think it has the legs, and it's starting to, at least in Saskatoon here, from what I've heard.
Oh, really?
It's starting to grab some of those Magic the Gathering players away from Magic.
Cool.
And from what I heard, it's a more strategic version of a card game. There's lots of interesting decision points to be made during the thing. It's very quite thinky. I think Rob and I on our last one
was watching.
So the Blitz format's only supposed to take like 20-25 minutes, and we were just like spending like an hour. And
that's because, you guys were just learning it too, right?
Oh, we were learning it. We didn't know any of the cards in the deck, but Flesh and Blood. I'm very curious to explore. I'm not going to go heavy into this one like I used to do in collectible card games. I want to play with these Blitz decks.
Sure, you're not.
I want to play with these Blitz decks. No, I got way too much other stuff to go on.
Okay. No, okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
We're going to play with these Blitz decks. There's some new Blitz decks coming out this week, so I think we're going to pick those ones up. I like the pre-constructed stuff. I don't have I got kids. I don't have time for the deck building anymore.
Well, and I mean, for people like me who have no depth of knowledge in that, I like that whole crack it and play it, right? Like Keyforge did. Crack the deck and go, right?
Yeah.
So, I was laughing earlier when you were setting up the whole game when you said we're two knights, squaring off, and I went, oh, like Monty Python.
We are the knights who say knee.
Yeah. None shall pass.
Bring me a shrubbery.
So, I hope you guys didn't, and end up decimating each other by the end of it. I like the player mats that I saw it had visually, from my point of view, I've never seen the game, never played it, but just looking at the player mat, I got a sense of what to expect of the game and sort of the zones. I was able to identify zones that made sense to me.
Yeah, and if you don't have a play mat, like the play area is very simplistic. You got your 4 pieces of equipment, you got your deck and weapon areas, and then you just got your deck. You got your character and weapons, and then you got your deck areas. And then everything else is played to what's called the combat chain. Mm-hmm. And that's where all the action takes place. And after you play a card, then they all go to the discard pile, or I think the graveyard is where they call it this time. But
cool.
No, Flesh and Blood. So Rob and I will be playing that on Wednesdays for the next little bit. And then we're going to return to, I think, back to Ashes, because that game. If you didn't listen to my review in the last episode, go back and listen to me gush all over it, because it's a fantastic game.
Cool.
I want to play Ashes right now.
Hey, well, you know what? I'm going to try and find a copy, because you guys kind of got me really interested in it, because it's got dice.
What I should do is I should hand over a couple decks to you at school, and then you take them home and we'll put them on the webcam and.
Oh, that's right. I don't necessarily I just need a deck.
I literally own everything for Ashes at the moment. So
so I'm going to come back to your speaking of Flesh and Blood not needing to own everything,
because I'm already collecting another game, and I'm collecting Marvel Champions.
Okay,
and I'm collecting Arkham Horror.
Good thing we're not recording this or documenting anything you're saying right now. So
my wife doesn't listen to this podcast.
That makes two of us.
This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is proudly sponsored by Dragon's Den Games, located in the Louis VIII Mall on 8th Street in Saskatoon. Swing by Dragon's Den Games and let Darren, Al, and the awesome staff help you out in search for great board games, role-playing games, miniature systems, and all of the related accessories. Be a part of their gaming communities that have scheduled events in their great gaming area. Dragon's Den Games, Louis VIII Mall on 8th Street in Saskatoon.
And we're back in with some news. You ready for it? The news. Ryan, lead us into what's going on with some Fantasy Flight game news.
This past weekend was Gen Con 2021. Seemed like it was a pretty decent turnout from what I gathered on the social medias that I was looking at.
I've been hyperventilating at each picture I look at.
Oh, I don't think it was as bad as some of the pictures were making it out to be.
Yeah. But there's that. I mean, everybody who sees that has that little part in the back of their brain going, oh, I don't know if I can do that yet.
Yeah. Just watching the people touching the escalator railing.
Purell.
Okay. Anyways, back on track. Fantasy Flight does their usual Gen Con in-flight report, giving us a heads up onto what's happening Fantasy Flight games. And I love doing this every year because they got lots of news this year. Big one, and it actually came out before Gen Con, was the news about Keyforge, which is a game that we really enjoy. We've always really enjoyed Keyforge. And they do have a new set that's kind of
with an asterisk
kind of ready, called the Winds of Exchange, bringing in some new houses, some new cards, and new player powers. But they also released a statement that Keyforge is going on a hiatus for a little bit. And one of the big things that they came about was that we do have this new set, but we can't print new things because our Keyforge algorithm is broken, which leads to lots of speculations because that is the definition of Keyforge, and that was their driving marketing thing, was that every single deck in the world was going to be unique. And for some reason, and I listened to the Team Covenant podcast. And they had a really interesting take that they started think about that they probably started introducing too many variables into the algorithm.
They crashed the code.
And their code wasn't able to keep up or something like that. That might be, and that's just speculation, conjecture for our podcast. But I can see that as a math and computer programming guy. Definitely can see that they were starting to introduce maybe too much too soon. But so Keyforge is on hiatus, but they do plan to come back at some point in time with this new set called Winds of Exchange. And also they are in talks with a company, and I'm losing it right now, but they're going to be coming out with an app for Keyforge as well. So I think when Keyforge does come back, it's going to be big. They're going to go all over the place. Small things in Arkham Horror Land. They got a new scenario pack, just a one-off scenario coming out. But they also made the big announcement that they're going to start re-releasing the old expansions campaigns, but in this new format that I was talking about, they have all of the campaign cards in one box and all of the investigator cards in one box. And so they're going to start that with the Dunwich Legacy campaign, which was a really hard one to find for a lot of people for right now. So they are saying that they're going to bring that all back.
The in-flight one that I'll set it up and you can say what it is, but we got a little teaser when we interviewed Corey Kineska, and that's at the very end of the in-flight report. Yeah, I know. Have you got there yet? Because
not yet. No, there's lots of stuff in this in-flight report. Oh well, don't you have it open?
No. I'm just sitting back. I'm enjoying the first-hand account here.
Lord of the Rings, the card game, is getting relaunched.
Okay, I got to open this.
And they have a new revised course. So what they're doing with Arkham Horror, they're re-releasing the core box, but now everything all in one, and they're adding some things to make it a campaign right out of the core box. Then they got some new scenario packs for that one coming out.
Oh,
Here's the big one. The new Marvel Champions stuff. So they officially announced the last hero of the Mad Titan Shadow cycle, which is going to be Vision.
Yeah.
So they got the Vision hero pack coming out. But then they started teasing us with the Sinister Motives campaign box, which is Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And they've got Ghost Spider and Miles Morales Spider-Man as the heroes inside that box. And I am very excited.
Yeah. And I'm just quickly looking at it here. There's some great villains.
Yep. They got the Sinister Six coming in there.
Yeah.
Looks like they got Venom in there as well. So lots of things coming in with Marvel Champions. Then they have a whole bunch of like merch stuff, and they're teaming up with CMON to release some Twilight Imperium comic books and graphic novels. That seems pretty good. But then the very big teaser at the very end was the Piece de la Resistance. And we got a little bit of insight onto it when we interviewed Corey Knitska, is that a Star Wars Outer Rim expansion is finally coming. Yay! They just teased it. They didn't give any details about it. It's called Unfinished. Yeah. It's called Unfinished Business, and it's the expansion that everybody's been wanting. Yeah. We need that. We need this. We need more content for that game. It's a fantastic game. Just needs more content. And so that was the in-flight report for Fantasy Flight Games. Lots of great stuff. I always get jazzed about it.
That sounded like you just did the weather, and that was the in-flight report for CKW4. Cool. Cool. What's
we should be sponsored by Fantasy Flight Games for the amount of stuff that we talk about them.
I'd rather get shares for the amount of money I've spent. Ravensburger. This one's kind of interesting.
This one is very, very interesting because Ravensburger is halting all orders in North America currently. And for the reason why they are stating this is that they want to catch up on this backlog of orders that are coming their way. They've been very aggressive in releasing new content, and they got a lot of those games coming out. Like they got Goonies, and Rocketeer and Gargoyles. And all these other really awesome games that are coming out. Except for they just can't get them here because of this of the shipping issues that are happening globally. And so what they're doing is they're actually putting a hiatus on the orders. People can't order. They gave until I think September 17th. So that's just passed. And now they're not accepting orders, which is actually really bold of them going into Christmas season. Mm-hmm. But they just, I think there's such a backlog of their orders that they need to do things properly, I guess.
Well, and they're a big enough company that they can absorb a tactical decision like that.
Yeah. So things will be starting up for them probably very early 2022, maybe even very late 2021 here. Yeah. So yeah, it is unfortunate. Have you seen the pictures of the Gargoyles game?
Now, are they using the artwork directly from the Disney IP?
Yes.
Cool. Are they? So they're not going on their own little kind of.
No. It's like Gargoyles, the cartoon that I loved, and a lot of people have loved.
Oh,
and they got their own version of 3D terrain. Take that, Descent: Legends of the Dark. Ooh, they got like 3D like towers that the gargoyles go on and stuff like that. And so,
and is this the Prospero Hall team that put this together? Mm-hmm. See, that's weird. They don't do that crazy mini stuff. Or they don't do, but that's bold.
No, and it's not like a Heavy's minis game. It's just like what probably these other productions are for them. And it's like,
I'm curious.
I thought it was very interesting.
All right. Last one. Well, speaking of nostalgia cartoons.
Yeah, we have to mention this because it is kind of time sensitive too, because by the time some people listen to this, there might not be that many days left in the campaign.
No.
But come on, or CMON, I'll still call them CMON. It's neither here nor there. Has their Masters of the Universe board game up on Kickstarter. It's loaded with plastic and minis and everything awesome.
What was your thing you said about CMON? If it doesn't come with 6 boxes minimum,
What's a game that doesn't come with 6 boxes minimum? Come on, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's looking really good. Now we just recorded an episode about this with or I did with Dice and Dragons and the Meeple Dungeon. We did another one of our Kickstarter excess or values. And this is we picked this one because we have it. Oh my gosh. Now I think I'm coming reformed a little bit. Because this one doesn't get me juiced up. No, this one doesn't get me juiced up.
Okay.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
And like there's lots of miniatures and lots of things and a big massive plastic castle gray skull quote unquote miniature that goes on the board.
There's a pile of minis too, not just a bit. There's a pretty good distribution.
Yeah, and they've just added on 3D terrain today as add-ons.
Nice.
I don't know, but this one's it's not getting me. That might also be because too it's not really meant as a cooperative type of game. It is a one versus many skirmish.
Oh, okay.
Or a 1v1 skirmish type of game.
Yeah.
And that's not really a game that Jen and I play, or that's not really a game I play in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't go out there. Like if I'm doing 1v1 things, like I'm playing Ashes Reborn or I'm playing these dueling card games with my friends. I'm not playing these miniature heavy war games. Essentially, that's what this one's going to turn out to be. Mm-hmm. So it's not getting me jazzed up. This might be a CMON. This is a CMON Kickstarter that I'm passing on.
Okay.
But we did
and that's okay. That's okay.
But listen to that episode when it comes out, because we're doing a Price is Right challenge to see how much an all-in. We tried to guess how much an all-in
pledge was.
Pledge is going to end up costing somebody. So I'll let you have to go on.
You're not going to.
I'm not going to say it on this air. You have to go watch our other show.
Over 500.
Yes.
Oh,
that's my prediction.
Oh. Okay, so that's where it's going. That's where you think it's going.
That's where it's going. Well, right now, what is it right now? I'm going to do some math on the air. 220, 295, 345, 395. It's already over $400 for the stuff that they've released.
American?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's like $2,000 Canadian, eh?
So I think my prediction is pretty. I think actually all three of our predictions were pretty all right.
Wow.
So
that's all I could say is wow. Well, and
there's going to be people out there that they're going to get froth over this thing because this is He-Man. This was a big part of a lot of people's childhoods.
Oh yeah. This will have the kind of a similar nostalgic connection that Fireball Island had. Yeah, kind of pulling on those.
And they're really trying to go with the FOMO because that's what CMON does.
Yeah,
they tug at the FOMO heartstrings. Everything in this campaign seems to be a Kickstarter exclusive. Like I don't think very much of this is actually going to retail. Oh, or if any of it.
Now, but does it usually go to retail?
No, not unless if your retailer is a CMON retailer in which they can get in on the Kickstarter. Okay. Amazing Stories and Dragon's Den Games here in Saskatoon are CMON retailers. They can get in on these campaigns and order this stuff, but they can't just get it through the regular distribution channels.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want the gigantic plastic gray skull miniature, that's a Kickstarter exclusive.
Yeah. Or find to see if your friendly local game store is bringing it in. So,
yep. Talk to Darren at Dragon's Den. I'm pretty sure he's going to put it together group pledge. Talk to Jeff at Amazing Stories. I'm pretty sure he'll put in some group pledges if people are interested in them. Mm-hmm. That saves you on the shipping. That's going to save you on the shipping.
Yeah. Yeah. And that way it doesn't get shipped to your house and you don't have to explain things. What's this fridge box? And there's a fridge box on our front step.
Hi. If you like the content we're creating and the podcast episodes we're producing, please leave a happy rating on the podcast platform that you use. This would be such a great gift
and would also help others find our podcast when they search for Board Game Podcasts. And if you have the time, check out our new YouTube channel where we have new content every few days. Just search Bridge City Board Gamers on YouTube. Thanks, eh? And we're back. This is Cardboard Conjecture, and we're going to go into our topic, which is, from my point of view, the top 10 solo games, and from Ryan's point of view, the top 10 two-player games. And I think this was a pandemic-forced topic. So, Brian, not that there's much that we need to talk about, but what kind of prompted your list? Like, was there any dimension, any criteria, any method, any madness?
So this is just going to be like more of a personal experience type of list. These are the 2-player only. Like, I'm not going to be talking about games that, play 2 to 4 players and they have a good 2-player mode.
Yeah. I'm
just going to be talking about the ones that are designed only to be played as 2-player games. So there's some of those, like, there's the Cosmos 2-player game lineup. There's the Lookout Games 2-player lineup. And there's some other ones that may or may not have been mentioned on the show 50 times.
Have we talked about Target yet?
Type of games. So that's where I'm kind of going back. Some of these are Jen's favorite games as well, because we've played them so much. So I'll be giving my list of mine and Jen's. Jen gave a little bit of input to this list too.
Let me guess, her input was, what are you putting that on the list for?
When was the last time we played that?
We never played that. Oh, come on.
So 2-player games.
Cool.
Only.
My approach was, there's so much, like, as I put my list together, it's like, well, if I played that again, I would probably make it on the list. But it came down to what's the frequency? What are the ones that are actually getting on the table to be played? And there's probably 2 criteria there. One is ease of play. Like, I don't want to spend more time setting it up than it takes to play.
Right.
And depth of play, right?
Right.
So those are my 2 criteria. Now, as I mentioned before we went on air with this, that not that I'm cheated, but I'm going to quickly spout out a list of games that I've not yet played, that if I did, I know they'd make it on the list somewhere.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
are you giving to that us first, or are you going to give that to us at the end?
No, I'll give that right away, just so that you know that not to expect these games, and the reason it's like, you're mad. Well, of course I'm mad, because I haven't played this game, so that's why it's not on the list, right? And the whole dimension of that discussion is, that's a whole episode right there, and a team.
Right.
So, do you want me to start?
Sure.
I'll spit out that. So here's the ones that didn't make the list, because I haven't played them, but they would make the list. I'm pretty darn sure, from all the research I've done and all the talk that I've heard. So the first one, Seventh Continent. I've heard you talk so much about it. It's pretty much everything.
Right.
That role playing that I love, like doing D&D and stuff. Right. It's just
right.
It's kind of nice. Sounds like it'd be a perfect blend. The next one I have, I'm so shy. I have this game on my shelf, but I haven't. Arkham Horror, the living card game. I haven't. There's cellophane still on the decks, man. Forgive me. The other one is Gaia Project.
Forgiveness.
No forgiveness. The other one is Gaia Project. I know. I love space, and I love that.
You're listing off some of my favorite games of all time.
Well, see, that's what I mean, right? The next one is Feast for Odin.
Yep.
Right. So, I know I love Uwe. Another one, again, you're going to nod. Anachrony. I understand that is a fantastic solo, and it's a great game.
Yeah, and that's a solo mode that I have not played. I have not played the solo mode for Anachrony.
Okay. And then the last one is Too Many Bones. That's that chip
I don't
theory
know too
game.
much about. Okay, I don't know too much about that.
It's basically dungeon diving, and chip theory's way of putting all the chips are as the basis of the development of this game. So those are they'd make the list if I played them.
Yeah. I got a small list of things that I'll call my honorable mentions that they didn't quite make the list.
Mm-hmm.
And two of them, people are going to scream when they hear this.
What?
Yep. The Good Doctor, Mr. Reiner, he didn't make my list. Battle Line / Shot and Totten didn't make the list. And Lost Cities didn't make my list.
For shame.
I know, right? A game that I'm sure if we played, and I don't own this one, but I've heard great things about Raptor. Kind of like this kind of like dueling game.
Mm-hmm.
Agricola, All Creatures Big and Small, did not make my list. And Norm, I'm sorry, but Shobu did not make the list.
Oh.
So now you're wondering what did make the list.
Well, I'm hoping that there's a Jay and Sen game that made that list.
We'll see.
It was just like a pinter pause and breathe. Okay, so my number 10. I'm gonna first say the one that got kicked out was Black Orchestra. That is that Valkyrie make a plan to assassinate Hitler. That just got bumped off the list by Viticulture, or the Tuscany Essentials edition. Now this one, I don't want to say that this is the first time that I think it's Morten Anderson came up with the Otama deck, but this was my first experience with it, and yeah, I love the worker placement in Viticulture. I love the cards. I love how the whole thing works, and that Automa system is great. It doesn't change the decision making in the game as much, and keeps the challenge there. And it's not one of those, beat your best score, right? Yeah. Sometimes that's okay. But in this case, no, you're pushing hard against the Automa, which does a great job.
That's one of those systems where you flip over the card, the guy kind of just takes that spot away from you, right?
Yeah. Like a good worker placement. It's like, denied, and flip a card and there's their points, and they're pushing ahead of you. Now abstracts a lot of the AI decision making, but good enough. I don't want to know the AI's backstory. I want my turn next, right? So it does a great job at that. So that's my number 10.
Sweet. Okay. My number 10 is a 2-player game that Jen doesn't play. And I don't think Jen's ever played it, but I've had such great experiences with it as a 2-player game. And that is Star Wars Rebellion.
Oh, yeah.
Number 10. And it's so low because of that. It is an epic. It is an epic scale. It's taking you a few hours to play through the cat and mouse chasing of the rebels and the Empire. And the Empire starts with a big, massive fleet on the board, and the rebels are hiding and not necessarily wanting to get into that conflict, but trying to build up their rebellion beforehand. Around. Claiming those mission points ever so sneakily, sabotaging things, and the stories that it's able to tell. I've had epic games with you. Yeah. I've had epic games with Ian. It's a fantastic sit down and let's live out Star Wars in this alternate universe timeline, stories that can develop. Yeah. So set aside a few hours. Star Wars Rebellion is my number 10.
Nice.
Even though it does say 2 to 4, you're never going to play that game more than 2 players.
That's a 2-player
It's
game.
a 2-player game.
Much the same way that this one says, it's a 1 to 4 player game. No, this game is a solo game that it's the opposite. You know how games are like, oh, it plays 4, but you can, if you want, play solo. This is the other way. This is a solo game, and you can play more players if you want, but don't. And that is Nemo's War. Victory Point Games, and I'm Ian O'Toole. I mean, we love Ian, so yeah, Nemo's War. You're basically you're on the Nautilus, and you're doing campaigns, and you're doing story narratives, and you're trying. There's 4 different modes that you can set your game to in regards to adventure, exploration, military, and the good sign of a good solo game is that your win percentage is below 20, and mine is below 10. No, there's on the rare occasion you manage to squeak out a reputable win. It's a feels good. Some people. There's dice involved, and some people are like, oh, I hate that randomness, but there's the mitigation in this is that you bet points. There's 3 tracks. There's your crew, there's Nemo, and then there's the Nautilus. And depending on the event or the conflict, you can bet points to add to your dice roll. And if you're successful, you regain, and if you're not successful, you lose that. And then that's one of those criteria that push you to not winning the game. But I have so much fun every time I play this game. Just loads of fun. And if anybody's ever heard our Memories episode, this one's got a depth of emotional associative memory. So. Yeah, that's Nemo's War.
I thought it was going to be higher on your list, honestly.
Well, yeah, there's just so many good ones that have come out, though, right? I mean, this one came out in, what's the date on this one? 2017. So, yeah. But still, it made the top 10. Number 9.
Absolutely. Okay, my number 9 is a Capstone game. Capstone's actually got a couple 2-player only games. But this one's just slightly better than the other one. And I'm going to talk about Watergate.
Yeah.
A fantastic 2-player game. You introduced me to this one, and then I introduced Jen to it. And this one comes out every now and then, and It's a very nice tug of war, back and forth. And that seems to be a common term or a common feeling in lots of these 2-player only games is the tug of war between the 2 players, the push and pull, the try to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes almost and everything. And so, in Watergate, it is living out the Watergate scandal of one player playing the media type of people and the other players playing the Nixon administration and the media trying to connect the dots and the conspiracies to Nixon by playing these event cards and trying to find these key players in the Watergate scandal. Yeah. And Nixon is just trying to, off the people so that you can't find them or something like that. Protect his imagery by playing his event cards. And it's so cool. It's very thematic. And there's a term that I don't like to use very often, but the immersion and how you're feeling in the text and the flavor of the cards you're playing, it's very good. Yeah. And it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a very quick playing type of game. Like, what is it? 30 minutes ish. Yeah. Which is a perfect game for us when we are going to bed quite late or the kids get to bed late and you still want to pick up a game. And the rules overhead for it, not very complicated.
It's smooth. It's straightforward. Yeah.
So,
but it's so deep. It's so deep.
Oh, there's so many different interesting decisions. Yeah, the decision points. And then if I'm playing this card to push that peg closer to my side or to your opponent's side, or am I playing it for the action? Cool. If I play it for the action, then it's gone for the game possibly or something. So Watergate is a fantastic and my number 9 2-player game.
Cool. I'm looking at our clock. I'm going to speed this up because we're going to run late. But my number 8, and you're probably going to have that same feeling of it's been falling down the list, but there's so many good games, is Robinson Crusoe.
Okay. And I can see that.
Yeah. And this one's dropped down the list because of the demand of the rule set that you have to get into your working memory in order to get that game, going. I love the variability in this game. There's all these different little scenario cards that you run this exploration and card drafting tableau engine through. And this one is always a great experience and always challenges me. So this is another one is like, I maybe have a 15% win rate with this game, and that says a good thing for me. So yeah, number 8, Robinson Crusoe.
Okay, I'll keep it also nice and short here. My number 8 is the only trick-taking game on my list. It's a two-player only trick-taking game, and that is Fox in the Forest.
Bravo.
Great game. If you know what trick-taking games are, this one does it well. Those are only 3 suits, and the odd number cards have some sort of special effect when they get played, switching the trump suit and stuff like that. And the really good thing about this one, too, is that you don't want to take all of the tricks. You just want to take some of them, because if you hit this sweet spot, you score more points for the round. And so there are sweet spots by not taking very many or just taking just enough.
Yeah.
But if you take too many or you don't take any at all, that's bad.
It's like bell curve scoring.
Yeah. So it's
you take
really
too much, you get 0. You don't take enough, you get 0.
And it works very well. So Fox in the Forest is our number, which was this 8.
Cool. My number 7 is an engine building, and there's not the only one on there. This is Wingspan. This is Stonemaier Games. It's your birds. You're basically putting together a bird sanctuary, and it is, like I said, probably one of the most dynamic engine builders of late. Now, a lot of people get, "Oh, it's simplistic." Well, I mean, you want to have an appeal to a good range of people, and the once again, the Automa deck from Stonemaier comes through brilliantly with this game. So this plays great solo, and this plays great even up to 4 players. So Wingspan.
Great choice. My number 7 is Emotep the Duel. So
cool.
This is another one of those. This is one of those games where they had a Big Brother game, and then they kind of just made like the little brother or the cousin version, where it's like take the game that could be played as 2-player already, but we're gonna kind of keep the core concepts of the game, but we're gonna also change it enough that it's the own unique 2-player experience. And it feels very chess-like, is when I've talked about it in the past, where you really have to position your pawns in order to take the proper tiles off the boats in order to maximize your scoring. And the variable scoring, because there's these dual flip boards, and not every board, you're not going to have the same combination of point scoring opportunities every single game. It's really, really good. I highly recommend checking out Emotep the Duel.
Cool. You know what? And I love that, because that's definitive on how many players. It's like a Cosmic Encounter, the Duel.
This episode is proudly supported by the amazing team at Breakout Escape and Board Game Lounge from right here in Saskatoon. Using industry-leading technology, Breakout Escape's escape rooms are all 100% uniquely designed by the team, ensuring their patrons have maximum fun while staying safe. As well, they are a fully licensed board game lounge with over 400 titles to select from to ensure fun for every gamer, new and experienced. Be sure to check them out at breakoutsask.com. At Breakout Escapes and Game Lounge, they believe that life is more fun when you play games.
So my number 6 is, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, is my favorite deck builder by far, is Aeon's End. And I'm currently playing one of the campaign games. I'm currently playing one of the legacy games. This is so much fun. And the uniqueness I like about this game is that, unlike any other deck builder that you shuffle your deck and then you take your 5 cards, This one, your deck stays in its chronological order that you put it. So once it depletes, you pick it up, turn it over, move it to the other side, take your cards. And when you play them to your tableau and put them back, that's where you can rearrange it. But yeah, this and it's it's kind of like a tower defense game because you're defending the village, and as the village points run is out, done. So it's big boss after big boss battle. It's awesome. That's Aeon's End.
Okay, that was number 6.
Number 6.
Okay, my number 6 is a pair of games. They do the exact same thing, but one has a space theme and one has a fantasy theme. And I'm talking about Star Realms / Hero Realms.
Yeah.
Essentially the same game, just pick your favorite flavor. Now, depending on what you want, Hero Realms has some campaign expansions that you can play through, which is really quite neat. It has the cooperative aspect to it. Star Realms is completely just a duel between the two players, but the two systems are very, very identical. I prefer actually Hero Realms because of the campaign aspect.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking for the fighting, the duel aspect, I'm going with Star Realms. And yeah, it's a fantastic deck building game. Doesn't do anything groundbreaking in the deck building genre, but man, is it a lot of fun. And man, can you just hammer out like
toe-to-toe matches.
Oh man, you can hammer out 7 games. You can do a best of 7 in an evening very easily.
Cool. That was your
so
number.
that was my number 6. Star Realms / Hero Realms.
My number 5 has tragically fallen. And I think you know what I'm talking about. And this is one of those games that has fallen because of that setup and cognitive rulebook cognitive load. And that's Mage Knight. I love this game to bits. Absolutely adore this game. But it's one of those games where it's like, okay, I got to quickly refresh the rulebook, get that programming back in my RAM. And once it's there, then I'll play a week's worth of games because it's one of those things like, okay, I got the rule set there. Everything's humming. The engine's going. All right, don't interrupt me. Daddy's not cooking. Daddy's not a short order cook. I got to get this game done. So yeah. Brilliant game. I mean, I gush all over it all night if I wanted to. But Mage Knight, that's my number 5.
Okay, number 5 is not chess, though it's the most chess-like game on our list, and that's Onitama.
Yeah,
is our number 5. And great dueling chess-like game. And I always like to say it's chess-like because your pawns and master pawn are moving across the board, but they're dictated by the cards that are selected at the beginning of the game. And you have to use one of those cards to move one of your pieces, and then it goes into the community piece, and then you take the community piece. So the cards are ever so changing all the time amongst the two players. There's only 5? There's only the 5 cards. Each player has 2, and then there's the one community one.
There's one always in limbo. Yeah.
And they're always shifting based on how you're moving your pawns. And you're just trying to do one of 2 things. Take out the opponent's master pawn or get your master pawn onto the opponent's steps. Steps.
Temple steps, yeah.
Yeah. And oh my goodness, so good. It is just so good. Onitama. I do have the one expansion. I don't have the second expansion, but I do have the first expansion. But I don't have the one that introduces like the wind spirit. Mm-hmm. There's something else. But then I heard there's another expansion coming for it that's adding ninjas to the game.
Oh no!
Which is kind of interesting. But Onitama, just the base game as it is, fantastic, and especially if you want like a very quick chess-like game in your collection, and the component quality of this game is amazing.
Yeah.
Neoprene player board. Nice.
Cool.
So that was my number 5.
My number 4 is one of those games that is it's not the cognitive load about the rule book. It's all the fiddly components that need to get put in place before you can get at this thing. And you see, you're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm talking about Gloomhaven.
Oh my gosh.
Love me some Gloomhaven. But this is a table hog, and There's a lot of apps that you can use, but I play board games for the tactile, so I don't mind doing all those little busy things, but I have to have it out. And so once it's out, that's another one of those games that once it's out, I'm running through at least minimum 5 to 8 scenarios if I can make it happen.
Right.
And I mean, if I don't suck, maybe those 5 to 8 scenarios are all the one try on the same scenario. So yeah, that's my number 4, Gloomhaven.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
1 week to try to get one scenario done. Okay, my number 4 is the first tile laying game in a 2-player tile laying game. And we're talking about Patchwork.
Oh,
it is so good.
Yeah.
This is Uwe Rosenberg's first foray, I believe, into the polyomino tile laying aspect. And I really enjoy it because it does have the economic piece of the buttons and having to pay your buttons for the quilt pieces. And then every now and then that takes, then they cost time, and then you move your time, and then you cross a button space, you get some buttons to buy some more things. And then as soon as once you reach the end of the time track, can't fill your quilt anymore, and you can earn negative points. Yeah. Of course, it's an Uwe Rosenberg game where you can earn negative points.
I've been there.
So Patchwork is fantastic. We play it a ton. And I've seen people post pictures of their completed board, and I've never even come close.
Oh yeah, that's an
achievement. I have a math brain and a spatial element brain, and I try to make it happen, but I've never come close.
You should see this guy pack a trunk of his car when it comes to summer vacation.
Tetris was my friend as a kid.
Cool. All right, my number 3. Replaces the need for me to even think about terraforming Mars, because I think this is a better engine builder, and this is Underwater Cities. It's an engine builder. It does such, as simple as its solo implementation is, it does a fantastic job at blocking you with the areas that you need to get to make things happen. And all of a sudden things start to cascade, and boy, is it ever a fun game because there's lots of cards. So yeah. Right. And I know you have this, and I know you really enjoy this game too. So Underwater Cities.
And a game that I have not played solo.
And the best part is that when people play it 3 or 4 players, it can run long. And but it's not a boring game. It just can run long. Solo, oh, dude, you bang through a game in 20 minutes, half an hour.
Wow.
So yeah. So
crazy.
Yeah. So Underwater Cities, that's my number 3.
Okay. My top 3 are pretty much set. Number 3 is a game that I just talked about on the show not too long ago, and we play it consistently. It comes out at least every couple of weeks. 7 Wonders Duel.
Yeah, you talk about this a lot.
I talk about it a lot. It's the best version of 7 Wonders, I think. 7 Wonders does have a 2-player variant in its core box, this Big Brother box. It is a horrible 2-player variant that no one should ever try to attempt. And that's not even conjecture. That's fact. If you're going to play 7 Wonders 2-player,
proven. Yeah.
If you're going to play 7 Wonders 2-player, you go and pick up 7 Wonders Duel, and you may as well pick up the Pantheon expansion and the Agora expansion because they just add so much depth on top of the fantastic drafting game. And talk about a tug of war. There are 3 different win conditions in 7 Wonders Duel, and you have to keep them all in balance because if one person runs away with one of them, chances are it's not going to points. It's going to win by the military or by science, or in the case of the Agora expansion, Senate seats.
Yay. Cool.
7 Wonders Duel is number 3.
My number 2, I've spoken about it before, and that is Marvel Champions.
Yeah.
Now, in this spot, I probably will also kind of sideways put Lord of the Rings, the card game. because that and this and Arkham Horror are kind of got a same DNA structure, kind of from my point of view. So, but Marvel Champions, that's one of those games where it's not a difficult rule set, and it's there's such challenging levels once you start off and you get a groove for it. Then you can turn the pressure on and have some really great games if you start to understand your hero deck. So, yeah, and I've got so much more to explore. So that's why it's so high up on the list, because there's a lot of stuff to go have fun with. So Marvel Champions.
100%. That's a fantastic choice. That's actually the only way I've been playing Marvel Champions mostly has been solo.
Mm-hmm.
So great. Okay, number 2 for me is a game that you really enjoy, and I believe Mel actually also really enjoys, and that's Japur.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is by far one of the best, or I guess in my opinion, the second best 2-player game of all time. It's got a very good push and pull. When do I cash in my cards to get the points before my opponent cashes in their cards to get the points? And if you don't know Japur, go and look it up.
Yeah, it's on BGA. Yeah,
it is on BGA.
And I thought I was good at it until I played on BGA and stunk it up.
Oh, baby. There are some Japur masters out there where it's like, I'll lose 2-0 all the time because it's a best of 3. That's how quick a game can actually go. And I don't think I've ever actually won a single match.
Either that or I played against Bobby Fischer because
just knew exactly when to cash in at what time.
Just smoked. It was embarrassing. It was just like I just wanted to delete my account and just walk away from the computer.
Such a simple little card game that has
cut the grass.
Amazing depth to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Japur,
cool. Well, here's my number 1, and I hope you're in agreement with this. This is one of those games where it's rare where you have a game that plays brilliantly solo, brilliantly 2-player, brilliantly 3-player, and so on and so forth. And that's Spirit Island.
That's a great choice.
Is probably the best cognitive puzzle challenge, risk take, push your luck maybe. It has all of those really edgy, anxious decisions all rolled up into one game. And I love the idea that the island's fighting back now. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So if you've not ever played Spirit Island, give it a try. Absolutely. And I mean, Brian, go ahead. I mean, you think you got this game before I did. And
I don't think I've explored it as much as you may have, but I remember I played it a few times. I've only ever played it solo and 2-player.
Mm-hmm.
And when I play solo, it's not, you have to play 2 spirits essentially attacking the island, but everything. 100% agree. I haven't even ever touched any of the expansion content because there's so much to explore in just that base game.
Yeah.
And my win rate at Spirit Island is extremely low. That's probably because I think that I'm intelligent.
On one hand. Yeah.
I think I'm intelligent.
Yeah.
And other people say that I'm intelligent, but that game makes me feel dumb.
Well,
most of the time.
It's one of those things where all of a sudden you're like, well, you know what? I can take a risk, and then all of a sudden, whoa, I didn't see, and then everything's done.
And cascade, and let's just reset to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So my number 1, Spirit Island. I'm waiting for this one.
My number 1, and then cut episode.
Yeah. And we're back.
Yeah. My number 1 is my number 2 game of all time. And I can't go an episode with Cardboard Conjecture without mentioning it. It has to be Targi. It is the greatest 2-player game created of all time. There's very little randomness to it. Very tactile gameplay, and it is very in your opponent's face.
Oh,
you're constantly blocking what they want to try to achieve. And so the concept of Targi is putting this worker placement on these edge border cards to hopefully they match up in crosshairs for these action cards in the center.
Yeah.
And might be some really good ones that you really want. And then your opponent just puts their guy on the row that you can't go there.
Yeah.
And you invent new swear words every time that this game is played because so-and-so, in this case, Jen, blocks me. And then it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
And then the expansion just takes it to the whole next level.
Right there.
It's right there, right behind your shoulder. The expansion takes it to the next. We never play without the expansion. The expansion makes the tactile, the tactical feeling of the game even more robust.
Yeah. Cool.
No.
I'm going to throw a curveball because we didn't write it down, but it just occurred to me. I have a game in my head that didn't make your list that I want to throw out there and go, hey, what did you consider this one? And vice versa. If you're thinking, well, I totally thought this would be on your list. The game that I thought would make your list that I kind of sneakily prompted was Akrotiri. I love Akrotiri.
And we just, a fantastic game, great game, love it.
But there's just so many good games out there, right?
There's so many good games. These ones, so especially those ones in my top 5 here, Onitama, Patchwork, Seven Wonders Duel, Jaipur, and Targi. If you were to randomly say what game is Ryan playing on a weekend, one of those 5 is being played quite regularly.
Cool.
And
was there a game that you thought would have made my list for sure that didn't make my list?
You see, I can't remember all the games that have solo modes.
Because you don't care about solo modes.
I don't. The solo mode's never in the forefront of my mind.
Nobody's mind. Nobody's
mind. It's over your back shoulder there. You have Star Wars Outer Rim, I see on your back, and that's got a fantastic solo mode. I haven't
played that one yet.
You see, that's one I have played.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
It's so good. You have to try it.
I'm going to do like you do. I'm going to put it face up.
Especially now that the expansion's finally in the pipeline coming out soon.
Okay, Outer Rim. That'll make
you got to get you got to get it.
I think we wrapped up a couple of good lists, and we took care of a good chunk of our hour here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what other people's favorite solo and 2-player games are.
Yeah, you should throw it up on Twitter.
Yep, drop us a line when this episode launches and you're listening to it. Throw it down on Twitter.
Yeah,
say, hey, this is my favorite 2-player game. Hey, this is mine.
At BC Board Gamers, we're happy to have that conversation with you.
Ryan, you're insane for saying Targi so much. I just don't see your appeal.
He's barely talks about it.
If you play Targi once, you're going to see what I mean.
Nah. Well, what I mean is to say thank you so much for listening to the episode. Yeah, and that being said, I'm your host Norm,
and I'm 1-2 Punch Ryan.
We'll catch you later. 1-2 punch. Good one.
This has been an episode of Cardboard Conjecture, and we are Bridge City Board Gamers. And you can find us on Facebook at Bridge City Board Gamers Saskatoon. You can find us on YouTube, Bridge City Board Gamers. We are also on Twitter at BC Board Gamers. And of course, Board Game Geek Guild number 3039.